Good evening. Welcome to the Big Story. I'm Regina Lay.
I'm Gretchen Ho. And I'm Sean Yao.
Tonight's big stories. House lawmakers blast Vice President Sara Duterte for snubbing today's budget deliberations. Majority Leader Manix Dalipe also says she may be liable for graft over her confidential expenses.
Senators reject appeals from Alice Go's legal team for an executive session. Senator Jingo Estrada says the person who helped her group escape was likely the boss of all Pogo bosses.
And the transfer of preacher Apollo Quiboloy and his co-defendants to regular jail is called off after the two courts handling his cases issued conflicting orders on where to detain the accused.
Lots of empty chairs at the lower house today as Vice President Sara Duterte snubbed the second hearing of the appropriations panel on her office's proposed 2025 budget.
The lawmakers saw it as an insult, even with a letter saying she deferred her budget entirely to the discretion of the committee.
But coming to the defense of Vice President Duterte were Sagip Party List Representative Rodante Marcoleta and Davao 3rd District Representative Isidro Ungap. Marian Enriquez has the big story.
Vice President Sara Duterte snubbed the second hearing of the House Committee on Appropriations on the over 2 billion peso budget the Office of the Vice President is asking for next year. She also didn't send a representative. In a letter sent to the House of Representatives earlier today, Duterte said the OVP has submitted all necessary documentation to the House of Representatives Committee on Appropriations, including a detailed presentation on the proposed budget for fiscal year 2025. She went on to say that they defer entirely to the discretion and judgment of the committee regarding their budget proposal for the upcoming year. But some lawmakers saw her absence as an insult.
Pagboboykot ito, Madam Chair, dahil wala pang akong natatandaan na ahensya ng gobyerno o executive branch na binoykot ang Kongreso. Talagang bratinela to the max, no?
She may not like being questioned about the OVP expenses. She may not like sitting with us here in the House. But Madam Chair, she is accountable to the people and she has this sworn duty to the Constitution, being the head of the agency, to be here.
On the other hand, two House lawmakers came to the defense of the Vice President, namely Sagip Party List Representative Rodante Marcoleta and Davao City 3rd District Representative Isidro Ungap. They moved to terminate the deliberation over the OVP budget, citing the House tradition of parliamentary courtesy. Instead of voting, Appropriations Committee Senior Vice Chair Stella Kimbo suspended the hearing. This further angered Marcoleta.
Are we not already respecting a tradition well kept by this House?
Respect tradition.
This question never happened before. It did not happen before. Ba't nangyari po nung nakaraan, nangyayari na naman ngayon?
We are talking of the office, not the person.
Motion was introduced.
You may not like the person. You may not like her presence here. But you have to respect the office of the Vice President. That is all. Because that is guided by the tradition.
Goodbye, parliamentary courtesy. Wala na tayong parliamentary courtesy. Next hearings.
After a kerfuffle, Representative Marcoleta's motion to terminate the hearing was put to a vote. But he lost dramatically. Only 3 voted in favor of his motion, while 45 opposed. Most of the lawmakers who lined up to interpellate Duterte expressed dismay at her conduct.
I do not care even if she is the Vice President, Madam Chair. I will not allow that Congress will be insulted by the head of any agency.
In the end, Kabataan Party List Representative Raul Manuel suggested transferring a large portion of the OVP's budget to other projects.
Total po niyan is 1.9 billion. So kung ganun, Madam Chair, that we will significantly slash the OVP budget for 2025, merong matitira na around 128 million, Madam Chair. Yun na lang, total naman pala ay mabuti pa na sa ibang ahensya na dumiretso yung ating mga kababayan for services.
It was also revealed during the hearing that VP Sara's office has yet to address the Commission on Audit's concerns regarding the expenditure of 73 million pesos from the OVP's 2022 confidential funds. But because they couldn't get answers today, the House Committee deferred once again the approval of the OVP's 2025 budget. It will continue in the plenary with the condition that the proposed budget may be reduced or delayed. For News 5, Marian Enriquez. We are One News.
House Committee on Appropriations Chair Representative Zaldi Co has responded to Vice President Sara Duterte's allegations that he and House Speaker Martin Romualdez are manipulating the budget. Co minced no words, saying VP Duterte was just trying to divert attention away from how she spent the OVP's budget in previous years.
Malinaw, diversionary tactic ang video message ni VP Sara. Talaga pong tatak Duterte na yata ang pambubudol. Mula sa peking war on drugs, peking good governance, peking pagkontra sa korupsyon, at ngayon, peking sagot sa mga issue. Tulad ng tatay niya, gusto niyang ilihis ang usapin sa tunay ng isyong kinakaharap niya.
Representative Ko was reacting to part 2 of a video released by the Office of the Vice President today, in which Duterte alleged that when she was still Education Secretary, some House members asked for a portion of a 5 billion peso budget for the construction of classrooms for unknown reasons. According to Duterte, this is one of the reasons she quit DepEd. But Ko pointed out that the national budget is deliberated on by both the Senate and the lower house, plus a bicameral committee. He also likened Duterte's spending of 125 million pesos in confidential funds in just 11 days to the misuse of government funds by pork barrel mastermind Janet Lim Napoles.
Paliwanag, 125 million confidential funds spent in 11 days at nagsabi mismo ang COA na mali ang paggastos nito. Kung bakit kulelat ang mga batang Pilipino sa math and science sa ilalim ng panunungkulan niya bilang DepEd Secretary. Kung bakit malala ang korupsyon sa DepEd at palpak ang kanyang panunungkulan dahil tamad at hindi siya pumapasok kahit minsan sa Department of Education.
Also today, House Majority Leader and Zamboanga Representative Manuel Jose Manix Dalipe warned that the Vice President may be liable for graft if she is unable to explain the more than 73 million pesos in confidential expenses in 2023, which COA disallowed, as well as the 12.3 billion in similar disallowances and suspensions under her watch. Representative Dalipe said more than just allegations of mismanagement, she may be held liable for graft, for possible violation of the anti-graft laws, if she can't adequately explain and justify the adverse findings, and if the COA does not accept her explanations and justifications. He goes on to say no one, regardless of position, is above the law. If public funds were misused, we owe it to the Filipino people to hold those responsible accountable.
All right, let's try to delve into this budget issue a little deeper. We have with us tonight Lanao del Sur Representative Zia Alonto Adyong, the designated sponsor of the OVP's proposed budget at the House of Representatives. Good evening, Congressman Adyong. Thanks for being with us tonight.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me. Good evening, ladies.
First things first, I understand you were able to talk to the Vice President after the contentious hearing 2 weeks ago. I wonder if you could tell us more about what she said, and did you have any indications that she was not going to show up for today's hearing?
After the first budget deliberation, when it was suspended, I immediately went after the Vice President. She was actually exiting the building, and while she was on her way out, I approached her and asked her if there's a possibility that we can meet up. If not, because I know she's going to be busy, I'm going to be busy for the budget hearing. And if possible, that my chief of staff and her staff can possibly find time so that they can sit down and so we can also be briefed about the the programs and essentially the budget of that she did, the office of the vice president has requested from DBM, so that in the time, but then by the time that it goes to plenary, as a sponsor and as the one who would defend the budget, I would be able to know exactly what are the possible answers for possible questions. So she was polite about it when I asked her, but it was a brief exchanges. I just merely asked for possible schedule, and then she responded that she will, and they will be. Well, her office will be coordinating with us, but up to this point, I haven't heard from the office of the vice president.
So there's no follow-up after that. Did
No,
you?
but I'm planning. But I'm planning to write the office, to formally request for a possible meetup, so that we can sit down and then discuss
Okay.
about the proposal, the budget, which is under the National Expenditure Program, as submitted to the House of Representatives.
Congressman Zia, after that first budget deliberation, you said that it's going to be difficult to defend the OVP's budget because of the way that the question and answer portion happened, right? We all know what happened there. Now that the second hearing, so this is already the deferral, right? And it had been
That's
deferred,
right.
But this deferral, right? She didn't show up. Would that make it even harder or a little bit easier, perhaps? What are your thoughts on that?
It makes it even harder and difficult for me to sponsor the budget simply because of her non-attendance. I'm still optimistic that she would appear in the continuation of the pre-budget briefing, which was today, earlier this morning. But unfortunately, some of the questions that I think those questions were valid in the first place because they're mostly about the proposed 2025 programs that were indicated in the proposal of the office of the vice president. So it would have been a lot easier if from the agency itself, in this case the office of the vice president, would have supplied the necessary inputs and answers that I needed for me to be able to carry this through once it reaches the plenary. But when it happened, there was no show, and so it made a lot difficult for me to, because you cannot sponsor something which you basically do not know.
Do you get the sense, Kong?
Compared to other agencies, where the sponsor actually, apart from the pre-briefing deliberation, as what you have just seen, during the course of these budget processes, the sponsor all normally requests for a separate pre-briefing between the sponsor and the agency. There are a lot of agencies that I handle, not only the Office of the Vice President, but there are also a lot, not really a lot, but a sizable number of agencies which I either co-sponsor or as main sponsor. And like, for example, in the case of COMELEC, I went to their office and we were given the time by the COMELEC to be briefed, separately from the committee. But this briefing with COMELEC was entirely for the sponsors. I happened to be a co-sponsor of that. So I was also hoping the same arrangement with the
Congressman
Office of the Vice
Zia,
President.
quick follow-up. Do you have any idea where your colleagues lean when it comes to the OVP budget? There was talk of making it zero. That's also possible. There's talk of stripping it of the frills, meaning just leaving for MOE or MOOE. Do you get a sense of where this is going, or do we have to wait until the next one, the next hearing?
Well, let me just say that most of them came out of frustration, right? So initially, what they tried to propose during earlier's budget is to slash substantial amount of the proposed budget, I for one would not agree that we should zero the budget. No, that is, for me, that's too much, because we are not talking of a budget intended for a specific public official. but we also have to realize that the office in itself requires a certain amount of budget for it to operate. So we're talking of the second highest position in the land. We're talking about the office of the vice president, where you have their regular employees, and of course office equipments that you need to maintain, office that you also need to maintain, bills that you also need to maintain. I mean, pay regularly every month. So I don't agree with substantially reducing the budget of the vice president to a very minimum. Like for example, to extent of maybe probably according to some, probably proposing for a zero budget. That I do not agree, because that would not only not only give the person occupying the office immobility, but it would render us, you know, disrespectful to the office itself, which is the office of the vice president. So we also have to look at, respecting the office, not necessarily the person occupying the office, because whatever is the result of this budget hearing, that would also create the precedents. And I don't want that the office of the vice president in the coming years be subjected to zero budget or a lesser budget, just
Congressman?
simply because we happen to have different opinions with the one occupying currently the office.
Congressman, there was some off-cam banter about parliamentary courtesy. How do you grant courtesy to someone who is not there? Is the no-show of the vice president a sign of surrender to the House? And what do you think would be the reasonable amount to pass in terms of the budgeting? Because you're talking about minimums, but what would be reasonable? And also, this kind of reminds me of Vice President Leni Robredo under the Duterte administration. How do you defend this budget with so much criticism, not just with the confidential intelligence funds, but also with the spending over at the Department of Education?
Well, the non-attendance of the vice president could be interpreted in many ways. The thing is, many of us have our own different opinion regarding that. Some interpreted that as a way to insult the House of Representatives. Some just simply took it as as a move to send a strong message to the House of Representatives that it could be that the vice president no longer is interested. But in fact, she intimated that earlier in the previous meeting that she forego the opportunity to defend her budget, meaning to say she leave it all up to the decision of the House. Some also said that there's no other way to look at it than simply boycotting the process. But let us remember that this budget process is not just simply put there in order for the members of the House of Representatives to ask questions based on the proposed budget of each of the different agencies. This is a constitutional requirement granted by the Constitution in order that we can maintain the check and balances among the three branches of the government. The legislature having the power of the purse, meaning they can scrutinize the budget because they are elected directly by the people, and therefore they are the representative of the people, and we're talking about the money of the people, the taxpayers' money. So it is a delegated power mandate to the legislature by the Constitution. So it's a constitutional requirement. Now, on the other hand, as you were asking me, how do we carry out after the incident happened today, and comparing it to the budget of the former Vice President Leni Robredo, I think the most reasonable way to move forward in this case, because the confidential funds covers the 2002 and 2003. Fund, appropriate budget for the vice president, which according to the COA report, the notice of disallowance covers the 125 million which was spent for about 11 days. But this is not entirely the 125 million. We're talking about 58% of that So 73 million out of the 125 million were, according to COA, were utilized not compliant with the joint memorandum circular, meaning to say there are certain criteria that you can actually use. And so for me, after hearing all those concerns, and of course we also need to base the recommendation from what the COA has given us. I think the reasonable is for the Office of the Vice President to operate according to its mandate, because some of the programs which allegedly have duplication and have redundancy with the other programs and other agencies can be transferred to these agencies whose programs are similar with that of the proposed programs under the Office of the Vice President.
Right.
So yes, I think that is fair and that is reasonable.
Okay. Just very quickly, Congressman Adjong, we're running out of time, but just very quickly, off of today's breaking news, House Majority Leader Manix Dalipe has said that she may be liable for graft if she is unable to explain. This is the first time we're hearing it from a House ranking member. In the past, the idea was ever only brought up by the Makabayan bloc. How serious do you think this is?
Well, any misuse of the funds could ultimately lead to issue of graft and corruption. But on this particular note, I think I still have to really look into the reports of COA. I have heard these reports. I've seen the utilization report. I've seen also the notes of disallowances. But I also need to get more onto the evidences on how COA could be able to supply these evidences and prove that indeed the Vice President has committed misconduct in terms of the use of the public funds.
Okay. Thank you so much for your time tonight. We really appreciate it. We're going to have to leave that there for now. Lanao del Sur, Representative Congressman Zia Alonto Adyong.
Up next, a Quezon City court has ordered the transfer of Pastor Apollo Kibuloy and his 4 co-accused from the PNP Custodial Center in Camp Crame to the Quezon City Jail. We'll discuss that and more with Kibuloy's legal counsel, Attorney Ferdinand Topacio, when the big story returns. Keep it here. Welcome back. You're still watching the big story here on One News.
53 officials of Whirlwind Corporation and Lucky South 99, including Cassandra Ong, are facing non-bailable charges of qualified human trafficking. The case was filed today before the Department of Justice. Camille Samonte has the details.
These 10 foreign nationals are alleged victims of human trafficking, having been forced to work at the Lucky South 99 Pogo Hub in Porac, Pampanga. Together with 4 Filipinos, they were presented as witness complainants in the qualified trafficking case filed by the PNP, CIDG, and the Presidential Anti-Organized Crime Commission, or PAOC, before the Department of Justice. The respondents include Cassandra Ong and 53 other officials and incorporators of Whirlwind Corporation and Lucky South 99. In the previous Quad Committee hearings at the lower house, Ong had denied she had connections to Pogo, but the DOJ's investigation turned up something else.
Lumalabas sa ebidensya na pinatakbo niya ang Lucky South 99. Lagi niyang sinasabi na wala siya kinalaman sa Lucky South 99, sa ano lang siya, sa Whirlwind, doon sa lesser company. Kumbaga, ang negosyo lang niya, ang trabaho lang niya ay magpaupa. Pero ang team naman, ang investigative team namin, ay hindi binigyan ng pansin yung depensa na yan. No? Para sa kanila, iisa lang, ang Lucky South 99 at ang Whirlwind Corporation.
The PAOK says Lucky South 99's modus is to prod people into gambling, and those who are unable to pay their debt are then sold to Pogos to work off what they owed.
Notorious yan within the Pogo community is because sila yung pinakamalaking mamimili ng tao. They buy people from yung mga nalululong sa mga casinos. Meron kasing grupo talaga ng Chinese group na kidnappers po talaga. Mga loan sharks na sa mga casinos dito sa Metro Manila, tapos tinitingnan nila kung sino vulnerable para pautangin, then ibebenta nila ng higit pa doon sa pagkakautang doon sa mga Pogo.
Yung isa dong Chinese, pinautang ng 450,000 nata, nagmadyong ng 3 gabi, natalo. Nung natalo, hindi na makabayad, diniretso na siya sa Lucky South.
Aside from Cassandra Leong, included in the complaint are Duarin Wu, an incorporator Whirlwind, and Singapore national Zhang Ji, the alleged big boss of Lucky South 99. Both are believed to have aided the escape of Ong and Alice Go in July. Also named in the complainant are Lucky South Corporate Secretary Ronaldin Baterna, former President Stephanie Mascareñas, and former Deputy Director of the now-defunct Technology Resource Center, Dennis Conanan. Justice Undersecretary T said the prosecution is also looking to attach criminal and civil forfeiture charges to the complaints, which would potentially allow the government to seize assets that were used for human trafficking. Last June, PAOK and the PNP-CIDG also filed a human trafficking complaint against Alice Go and several others linked to the Pogo Hub in her town. USECT previously told One News they expect a resolution on that very soon. For News 5, Camille Samonte, we are One News.
The Singaporean Tang Tie is believed to have helped Go's group book hotels in Indonesia. But who was the one who helped them leave the Philippines undetected? Senator Jinggoy Estrada says it is likely the boss of all Pogo bosses.
A foreigner, he is a Chinese national and allegedly, based from the reports that I have received, he fled the country and he is now in Taiwan. I heard that he is the boss of all the bosses of Pogo.
Recall that at the hearing on Monday, Alice was pushed to write down on a piece of paper the name of the person who facilitated their escape. And at today's press con, Senator Jinggoy Estrada was asked if the name was Huang Chi-yang, and he answered most probably. He also said this person was allegedly holding 5 passports.
Chinese national who is one of the board of directors of Baofu, and he is allegedly a holder of 5 passports.
In a previous statement, Senator Risa Hontiveros had also revealed that a 2019 SEC document showed that Huang Chi-yang is Alice Go's co-incorporator.
Well, the cases are certainly piling up against Alice Go. Senator Win Gatchalian also recently revealed that over 4 billion pesos was deposited into her bank accounts, presumably to help fund the construction of the Pogo Hub in Bamban. Ria Fernandez with the story.
An investigation conducted by the Office of Senator Win Gatchalian found billions of pesos that entered the bank accounts of dismissed Bamban Tarlac Mayor Alice Go and her businesses. When Go faced the Senate hearing yesterday, she was directly questioned by Gatchalian. Where did the almost 2 billion pesos that entered her account come from, of which 1.2 billion pesos were in checks, while 600 million pesos were in cash? The 3 billion pesos that went into QJJ Farms, Go's piggery business, which she claimed funded her expenses before becoming mayor, was also questioned.
So nagbayad ka lang sa gobyerno ng 14,000 in 2011, in 2016, 24,000. And yet yung net worth mo is 177 million. So saan ba nanggagaling yung iyong income stream? Diba? Kasi kahit na sinabi mong kumukuha ka sa QJJ farm, pero yung QJJ farm naman At very least, at the very most nga, 91,000 lang yung kita. Saan ka kumukuha ng iyong pangbili ng mga assets mo?
Senwin, in due respect po, I think I have pending case po sa BIR. I invoke my right against self-incrimination
Yung pending case
po.
mo is because of that transfer. Allegedly, nagbenta ka ng shares mo from Baufulan to Mr. Jack
And
Uy.
AMLAC po.
No,
And I have pending case din po sa AMLAC.
no, but this has nothing to do with AMLAC.
The total amount of money deposited into Go's bank accounts and QJJ Farm is estimated to reach 5 billion pesos. It's close to the estimated 6.1 billion pesos, the cost of building the rated Pogo in Bamban. Gatchalian also pointed out that a portion of the funds used by the Baofu Land Development to pay Howley Builders and Max Gear Construction Supply came from QJJ Farms.
2017, 2018, 2019, lahat to eksakto kung kailan pinatayo yung Bambam Pogo Hub.
Yung pera ay might be used in Pogo. Mache-check nyo rin po, wala pong Pogo related po na pera if ever po. At saka even po sa mga contractor po, wala pong any transactions po. Kung hindi po ako nagkakamali, nagkumpisa po yung Pogo Hub po sa Bamban po year 2019 kasi
Yes,
pandemic year.
Correct. Yeah,
Pero wala po akong Pogo business po at wala rin po akong pinatayo.
Go said she is not sure if her former business partner at Baofu, Wang Jiang, who is a fugitive from China, was the one who funded the Pogo Hub in Bamban. Gatchalian, though, is convinced that Go is connected to the raided Pogo Hub. He asserts that Go herself paid the electricity bills for the hub in the past. The hearing on the Pogo Hub will continue next Tuesday, according to Senator Risa Ontiveros' office. Senators, however, strongly opposed Go's request for an executive session.
The only thing that could convince me to conduct an executive session is when she could provide concrete proof of the existence of threats in her life.
We owe it to the public. Remember, niloko na tayo nitong pugante nito.
Senator Risa Ontiveros, chairperson of the Senate committee conducting the hearings on illegal Pogo, said if Go cannot even tell the truth about her identity, why should they believe everything else that comes out of her mouth? Ontiveros challenged Go to be truthful at the next hearing, and maybe then the Senate might consider granting her request for an executive session. For News 5, Ria Fernandez, We Are One News.
The Quezon City Regional Trial Court has ordered the transfer of Apollo Kibuloy and his 4 co-defendants to a regular jail, but a legal gray area has since emerged, with another court reaching a conflicting decision on the custody of the accused. Joining us tonight now to talk more about this is one of Apollo Kibuloy's lawyers, also a lawyer to other high-profile, shall we say, personalities, Attorney Ferdinand Topacio. Good evening, Attorney Topacio. Thanks for coming all the way here.
Yes, it's always a pleasure.
What's the priority on your plate?
What do you mean?
Given
How do you
everything
divide your time?
All clients with equal importance, of course.
Because I was reading the story of, coming off the news about Apollo Kibuloy, let's talk about him first. Do you understand why his transfer to a regular jail was delayed?
Well, I understand from information given to me by other counsels that there seems to be some conflict of jurisdiction. But I'm sure that will be sorted out. It's a procedural matter, and it shouldn't really impact on the overall scheme of having him face trial and belie the accusations against him.
Have you spoken to him since he was captured?
Not lately, but we are a team, so we exchange information. We deem that there should be one person who to take point because of the saying that too many cooks spoil the broth. So after things have settled and we buckle down to trial, and that's when we will have a division of labor.
Attorney Israelito Torion is the lead counsel.
Yes, and I've been referring a lot of my media man friends to him for interview because he would be more knowledgeable since he's the boot on the ground.
Right, we've spoken to him a few times. Did you know
Yes.
that Kibuloy was about to surrender?
Yes, that is why we decry the attempts to spin this into some sort of arrest within the compound. But well, that is water under the bridge. A lot of things have been said about that, and I think the public will know what really is true based on the testimonies of those who were actually there, that he really surrendered.
Okay, Attorney Topacio, first off, let's put the Apollo Kibuloy thing into context. How do you and Attorney Torion separate your duties? Just so we know who to chase.
Well, you should chase Bobet because he has more facts. I've been counsel to Pastor Kibuloy personally. But, these are criminal cases that need attention, and Bobet is from Davao, so he's been there since day one, from the siege of the Kingdom of Jesus Christ until the surrender of Pastor Kibuloy.
You said your personal counsel to the pastor. What led him to surrender to ISAF?
Well, that I would have to come within the bounds of a lawyer-client privilege, but suffice it to say that, well, they've always wanted him to surrender. Now he has surrendered, so let's get the ball rolling, so to speak, with respect to the cases against him.
Yeah, because in April, he said he wouldn't be caught alive. In fact, he said the Marcos administration is conspiring with the U.S. to have him assassinated. And sabi niya, and I quote, "Barilin niyo na lang ako." So,
Well,
this is a complete 180 from that. What made him change his mind?
Well, that is precisely the reason why he surrendered to the intelligence service of the Armed Forces of the Philippines. What I can reveal in public is that it was a matter of trust. As I said, all the others will have to be kept under the cloak of confidentiality. That is my bounden duty as a lawyer.
Your camp has requested for military custody, but the Department of National Defense has refused the motion to transfer custody to the military. What can you say about that?
Well, they have the reasons. We will always respect the process now that we are here. And our priority now is to prepare for his defense.
Okay, and how is that going? I imagine as his attorney, that's what's concerning most of your time. What can you tell us, Attorney Topacio, about the plan, the legal plan?
Well, the plan is that we believe, in our humble opinion, of course, that the government has a weak case. That is why it was dismissed in the first instance. And, well, of course, I cannot talk about the merits of the case. The cases are in court. It would be unethical and improper for me to be talking about the merits. But suffice it to state that we will be giving the pastor the best defense within our abilities as lawyers to give him.
Can you tell us a little bit about jurisdiction? Because the latest is that he will be sent to the new Quezon City jail in Payatas. Is that final? Because I believe that the case in Quezon City is bailable.
Yes, there are...
And it is in Pasig that's non-bailable. So how does that work?
Well, of course, when you file for bail, it will be with the court that has jurisdiction. We must remember that these are extraordinary circumstances because usually a venue in a criminal case is jurisdictional. The venue of a criminal case is where the crime was supposedly committed. However, in this case, the Supreme Court saw it proper to transfer the cases from Davao to several courts in Manila. So that's how it works. This is a case of an extraordinary procedural move, which the Supreme Court
So you will be filing bail in the Quezon City Court?
Of course. Actually, I want to disabuse the minds of the people that there are bailable and non-bailable cases. All cases are bailable. It's just that when the potential penalty for a case is less than reclusion perpetua or life imprisonment, bail is a matter of right. If it is reclusion perpetua or life imprisonment, you may still file for bail, but it becomes a matter of discretion. So, the term non-bailable is misleading, to say the least.
Attorney Topacio, so just to clarify and simplify everything,
Yes.
basically, this is an extraordinary case. The cases from Davao have been transferred to different courts here in Metro Manila, and that's why we're having some trouble trying to figure out. So that means this is not normal? So do they have to deliberate on the rules?
Well, I wouldn't call it trouble because, this is not the first time that it has happened. There was this famous case of People versus Gutierrez that is a landmark case in this country wherein the venue was transferred from Ilocos Sur to Manila. So there have been some cases that have been precedents.
Let's talk about extradition. Attorney Torion told our news channel that the pastor is ready to face extradition charges. The DOJ also said that they expect the U.S. to request his extradition very soon. Where do you stand on that?
Well, of course, extradition is a process. Since we have a mutual extradition treaty with the United States, the process is that upon receipt of a request for extradition, the DFA validates if the case is extraditable. Because when you have a treaty of extradition, there is a list of cases that will require extradition. Once the DFA certifies that this is an extraditable offense, it endorses the matter to the Department of Justice because it is the Prosecutor General or whoever the Secretary of Justice appoints who will initiate extradition proceedings in court. An extradition proceeding is just like a trial.
Right. The DOJ already explained that to us, the process. But the point is, what is your game plan then, once the U.S. requests for his extradition?
Well, we will then fight extradition, of course, because at the basic principle...
he's ready to face extradition charges.
Wait, let me just interject. There is a lot of people saying, attorney, that kailangan daw muna matapos yung mga kaso sa Pilipinas. Since meron siyang kaso dito, like you said, they're already in the courts. Can you clarify for us if that is true? Because some people are saying, even some lawyers, and we do know that it is open to interpretation, like some aspects of the law, right? Dapat ba tapusin muna yung mga kaso sa Pilipinas bago siya ma-extradite? Or pwede nang simulan yung extradition process habang tinatapos yung mga kaso dito? How does that all play out?
Well, let me just clarify that when he said he's ready to face extradition, it doesn't mean he's willing to be extradited. He will appear and fight extradition. We will be appearing in the extradition process and protecting the rights of our client. Now, the general rule really is that even if the offense is extraditable, the primary jurisdiction, of course, belongs to the local courts, especially if you're a Filipino citizen, because that takes priority. Because it is any extradition is a derogation of sovereignty. You must understand. So it's like giving up your citizen to another jurisdiction for criminal interdiction. So that is why that is another point with respect to saying that extradition should not take place, at least not at this point.
Okay. All right. Sorry, we're running out of time, but we need to talk about the other high-profile case, Cassandra Leong, whom you're also representing. Actually, how did you come to be Cassandra Ong's representative?
Well,
you never told the story.
Yeah, I was approached by some people who that will have to remain under loyal client privilege. But it shouldn't matter, really, in the grand scheme of things. Who approached
from what
the lawyer.
year? From what year?
Just
this year.
Just recently.
This year, because when she was being deported, she didn't have a lawyer yet.
Yeah,
right?
and she did mention in the Quadcom hearing that she messaged you and she picked you because matapang daw po kayo.
Akala lang niya siguro yun. Takot ako sa asawa ko eh.
So, first of all, how is Cassandra? She was hospitalized, we believe. Is she okay now?
Yes, she has been discharged as of this afternoon. But, when I was visiting her at her place of confinement, a medical confinement, I saw that she was having a breakdown. She would cry every time she would see me, or she would remember the abuses that were done to her by the House Quadcom, especially the bamboozling, the browbeating, etc. That is why I think she had a breakdown in the middle of the hearings, and her blood pressure plummeted to 80/40, and according to the House Medical Director, her blood sugar was so low it could not even be read by the what they use.
She also said, attorney, in that hearing, which I watched all of, she said she would rather face the cases in court. Okay? Now she faces being cited in contempt for the how manyth time by the Quadcom. How will this play out? Can she actually just stay silent and wait to hash it out in court?
Of course, because that is a right granted to her by the Constitution. Every person being investigated for the commission of an offense has the right to remain silent, the right against self-incrimination, the right to counsel. And unfortunately, it is these very rights that are being violated by the Quadcom and most possibly by some members of the Senate, because the attitude is that these committees are acting less and less like legislative panels and more like prosecutors, which should not be the case.
Go ahead, Gretch.
Latest cases to be filed against her qualified human trafficking, money laundering, I believe.
Yes, that was a few days ago, the money laundering charges.
And you saw reports a while ago
Yes,
that
yes.
Senator Jingo Estrada was saying that there is a boss of all Pogo, boss of all
Yes, he
Pogos.
said he heard, so it's hearsay.
That means if you take a look at the line, then your client is not the top honcho. Is there possibility that she might be willing to be a state witness?
I have no knowledge of that at the moment. What we are doing is protecting her rights because that is exactly the reason why I'm saying that our legislators are acting more and more like investigators and less like lawmakers because it is not the job of the Senate nor the House of Representatives to be investigating whether or not a person is guilty or not of a crime. The Supreme Court said as much in Neri versus Senate Blue Ribbon Committee. In the latest case, Ong versus Senate Blue Ribbon Committee, which I successfully argued before the Supreme Court and which came out last year.
But
Attorney,
hold on. I have to take exception to your use of the words bamboozled and browbeaten because the question at the root of this all is why couldn't she just have answered the question straight up? See, this is your defense, and I understand this, is you're trying to portray her as, a young woman, helpless, hapless, who's just a sort of victim in all of this. But the documents prove otherwise, attorney.
So?
There's at least 3 documents showing that she was involved.
Well, you seem
so why doesn't she
There seems to be a misconception on your part as to what rights are. A person being questioned for the commission of an offense does not have to answer. It's in the Constitution. You are meaning what you want us to do is to waive her constitutional rights? That is not correct.
Ganito na lang, attorney. What I want to know, I understand it's very tricky and she does have her rights, right? But what I want to know is, will she go back to that Quadcom hearing? Because now she's cited in contempt. Does that mean she has no choice but to appear once she is well, once the medical stuff has been cleared? Does she have to appear? And how will that be, right? Because now the Senate wants to borrow her also as a resource speaker for their hearing. Do we just expect that this will go on? They'll be evasive because lawmakers also don't want to let her go, right? And they will put her on the hot seat.
She has no choice. She will be brought there. But we have already written both chambers of the legislature that she is exercising her right to remain silent. Everyone should know that the right to remain silent is in the Constitution again. That is why I'm saying they are exerting pressure on her. If you don't agree that she is being bamboozled or browbeaten, maybe you should watch the proceedings again.
I did. And it's a very quick answer, right? Even basic questions like where she went to school, she wouldn't even answer. That's
because
very
that
basic.
is her right. The right to remain silent is absolute.
But the Senate and the lower house also has a right to investigate these issues.
In aid of legislation. Is there any legislation here by asking? Can you see that the legislators are even insinuating improper relations between her and her godfather? Is that not bamboozling?
I don't want to.
You should watch the.
I did for the whole 9 yards. We did.
Well,
it's part
if
of
you
our
don't
job.
see anything wrong with that, then there's something wrong with you.
I don't want to get into arguments of the legalities with you, but why is she refusing an executive session at this point?
Because when they asked for an executive session, they were excluding counsel. And according to the own rules of the House, in every step of the proceedings, there is a right to counsel. So what kind of a trick is that? You saw how they isolated me from my client. They were physically barring me from talking to my client. That is highly improper. That is foul. They were even bad-mouthing me, using the bully pulpit of the House to insinuate that I'm giving bad advice. If you undermine your client's faith in your counsel, you are also violating the right to counsel.
We are running out of time. It's almost 9 p.m. and I'm sure they're going to cut us off pretty soon. But we're going to have to go through the third high-profile client. Yeah. You want to finish up with this?
No, because there's so many questions with Cassandra Ong, right? So your recourse now is to not. So she has to appear, but your game plan is to not have her answer and just invoke her right from self-incrimination?
Of course, because that is constitutional. there is a reason why there is such a right. I should tell you about it sometime. It goes back to the 13th century.
Why do you like to represent the Pogo players? I mean, I noticed.
sorry?
Why do you like to represent the Pogo players? I mean,
This
you
is
were
my
also.
job. For the record, I'm anti-Pogo.
You
I
are?
have commentaries, I have writings.
Parang si
that
Senator
say-
Bongo ah.
I'm anti-Pogo. But everyone has the right to counsel. You people
But
should remember
you
that.
also represented Lincoln Ong of Pharmaly Pharmaceuticals, right?
And so? And we won that
he-
case, remember? The Supreme Court held that his warrant was improper.
Pharmaly, of course, is, well, I mean, as far as the warrant is concerned, Pharmaly, of course, is the one that was implicated in the COVID supplies scandal
But
back in
maybe you did not know that the case
21.
against Lincoln Ong and Mohit Dargani were dismissed yesterday.
Where-
See, you don't report
where-
this news.
Where are these
I
players
can give
now?
you the documents if you want. Because you do not report these things, you only report things that you want to report. That is
That's
the
not true,
problem.
attorney. That's
Well,
not true.
well, we
Do
have
you watch
limited
us-
time.
Do you watch us every day? How would you know that?
But you didn't even know that the case against Mohit Dargani and
Because
Lincoln
we
Ong
haven't
were
been
dismissed.
we haven't been given this the paperwork,
documents,
the
yes.
documents for it.
Well, you are
But
a
thank you for
reporter, so you should
breaking.
report.
Thank you for
Well,
breaking it on our show. But
let's
Attorney
go to the
Natasha-
third client.
Yes, let's go to the third one. Arnie Teves,
yes.
of course. The last time DOJ Secretary Remulla said medyo na-delay lang daw because the Santo Papa was there. Pope Francis was in Timor-Leste. So how is that going, and are we really going to be seeing Kong Arnie back here in the Philippines soon? You keep saying next week.
You know, Boying Remulla never ceases to mystify me because, when there is a ruling, the litigant is the first one to know. How does he know that the appeal will be denied? Is he talking to someone inside the court? Is he talking to the justices? So even we do not know. Remember, the DOJ is a fountain of fake news. Remember when they said that Teves was going back and he never did? Remember when they said that the son of Teves was giving bribes when it was the other way around? Actually, he was being asked for bribes and he reported it. Remember when Clavano said that Teves would be here by the end of June and he's not here? Remember when they said that the appeal had been denied but it was a different stay order? So, if I were you, I'd take pronouncements from the DOJ with a grain of salt.
So we're not going to see Kong Arnie back here soon.
Well, we don't know. But if Boying Remulla knows for sure that the appeal is going to be denied, then there's something wrong. Because that's advance information. That's illegal as well as unethical. Paano niya nalaman?
By when do you expect results in his political asylum still an option?
We don't know. Political asylum is there, but I'm really mystified as to where they're getting their information. Do they have a mole inside the Timor-Leste
What are we
justice
waiting
system?
for now for this case with Kong Teves to move forward? May hantayan bang nangyayari?
Well, we have an appeal with the Timor-Leste Supreme Court,
What
or
is
the
the
highest
ace up
court.
your sleeve? Why do you think will they keep the congressman there?
No, I don't know. That's why I'm wondering how Boying Remulla knows, because I don't know anything. We're waiting for the results of the appeal. When you go to court, of course, you should not know in advance what will happen. If you know in advance what is going to be the outcome of the case, definitely no one will disagree with me that there's something wrong there somewhere. There's a leak, an improper leak.
There were also issues with the extradition. We don't have a treaty with Timor. Has that been ironed out at least? Or have you reviewed what the possible routes might be to try to get him back here?
Well, in fairness, even in the absence of an extradition treaty, a country may request another state for extradition. However, it does not become an obligation, but as a matter of discretion. So we have no beef with that. The government of the Philippines requested for extradition. The government of Timor-Leste, even in the absence of a treaty, decided to act on it. Well, that's international law. That is, but then there are still recourses in the same manner that in the case of Pastor Quiboloy, if the United States asks for extradition, then there's still a process that has to be done. That is the same way with Timor-Leste.
With all these cases, Apollo Quiboloy, Cassandra Ong, Arnie Teves, which one are you most confident in?
Well, I'm
confident in
confident
success?
with all of them. Remember, all that brouhaha about the chopper case involving FG Jose Miguel Arroyo has been acquitted. Remember all that noise about the fertilizer fund scam? My client, Jimmy Paula, has been acquitted.
let's not bring the other cases in.
No,
Let's just
what I mean is
those
nothing
three.
really happens
For
with
those
these
three.
congressional investigations.
So what you're saying, what you think is going to happen is many years down the line, these cases will all be dropped.
I'm not saying that they will be dropped.
They could
I'm just saying that a lot of them are just noise. When it comes down to a trial, when it comes down to court where there are rules of evidence, where the playing field is level, when you don't have senators and congressmen haranguing you and subjecting you to verbal abuse, maganda ang
Attorney,
laban.
if you were that confident in court, why did the pastor only come out now? To
There are
face the
many
music?
factors. As I've said before, there were concerns about safety. And as the Supreme Court said in one case, self-preservation is the supreme law. So one cannot fault.
Safety in terms of?
Well, it's a long story. As you said earlier, you're running out of time. But
Who
I
is
can tell you,
endangering the life of the pastor? Exactly?
well, I think he has intimated that the United States wants to wants
kidnap?
extraordinary rendition to be made upon him.
Where is that coming from? Because that continues to.
Well, Attorney Torian made it a
me.
condition. Remember, they made it. The team made it a condition.
Yes,
They
that's
wanted the
true.
president to write
A
in
letter.
a letter.
Why will the United States government kidnap the pastor? Because that's extraordinary rendition, right?
Yes, and it's been done
Kidnapping.
by the United States in so many instances.
Why not go through the legal process? Because the local courts can waive jurisdiction over the cases.
No,
and
actually they
pass it
cannot
on.
because once after Pastor Quiboloy has surrendered, the local courts have acquired jurisdiction over him because he has been turned over to the courts. So that jurisdiction cannot be waived without insulting the sovereignty of the Philippine government. Because the primary jurisdiction belongs to you. If you waive that, you're saying that the processes, the legal system of another country is superior to yours.
And
That
if
would
he
be an
knew
insult.
that, then the pastor would be safe here in the local courts, right?
That's
Yes,
what some
exactly.
people are saying.
That his
yeah.
life is in danger because of the United States government, but we hold jurisdiction over those cases.
Yes, true.
Yun ang tanong ng lahat eh. Bakit ngayon lang?
Well,
Diba?
many considerations that will have to remain under wraps for the moment.
Very
You
quick
say-
question. Is it part of the plan also for Kong Teves? This question is for Kong Teves, to keep him in Timor-Leste and for him not to be brought back to the Philippines?
Well, that matter is not up to us. It's up to the legal system, the judicial system of Timor-Leste.
You say that you're against Pogos, and yet the clients you represent sit in the middle of a controversy involving billions of pesos.
No, I'm protecting the rights.
Right.
Yeah.
But you say you're fundamentally against Pogos.
Yes, I am.
So how do you reconcile that?
Miss Cassie Leong is not Pogo. I did not get a license for any Pogo. She is a person accused of crimes and whose rights are being violated. As a lawyer, it is my bounden duty. I took an oath to protect the rights and interests of any person whose rights and interests
But she
need to be
applied for the
protected.
PAGCOR license for the Pogo.
I did.
No,
I never knew her.
Cassie
Yeah.
Ong.
So that has nothing to do with her rights being violated now. We have to divorce the person of Cassie Leong, the individual, with
From what
her
she does.
corporate
From what-
activities.
from what she
Yes.
does.
So do I take it to mean at the heart of it, you don't believe that she's guilty, that she is involved in Pogo operations?
It's not up to me to believe. The Constitution itself says that every person is presumed innocent until proven otherwise.
Right. I know, I understand that she has rights, but I'm just asking about your personal belief. Like, do you believe that the Pogos facilitated all these criminal activity
No, with
and that
respect
your
to
clients
with
know
respect-
something related to the Pogos? I'm not saying they're involved. I'm just saying they know something.
No, I will just tell you this. I don't mind the Pogos, illegal or legal, I don't know, but what I'm saying is that with respect to the crimes being imputed against her, I believe she is innocent and I will defend her to the best of my ability. Because that is what a lawyer, any lawyer worth his salt, that's what a lawyer does. That's the job.
Okay. And on that note, we will end this conversation. Thank you for taking the time out to be with us in studio tonight, Attorney Ferdinand Topacio.
My pleasure.
Okay, before we go, here's our big picture tonight, really quick, because we have run out of time a few minutes ago. Now, Testamento's iconic voice and characters, here is just one of the many tributes to Hollywood actor James Earl Jones. This is the Empire State Building in New York City, lighting up in the colors of Darth Vader. Jones was the voice of Darth in the Star Wars franchise. He also lent his famous voice in 1994 and 2019 to the Lion King films as Mufasa. James Earl Jones died on Monday morning, U.S. time, at his home in New York. He was 93 years old.
Darth Vader.
Sad.
Mufasa.
93
Depends
though.
how old you are.
93 though. I wrote a story today about Manila Paris direct flights, but we run out of time to talk about it. But it would have been a nice way to end it.
The
because
bad guys have long lives, no?
The bad guys? He
Darth
seems like a
Vader
good guy.
He's just voicing a bad guy.
Exactly.
I mean,
I'm trying to lawyer for the voice of James
Earl Jones.
Right. Yes, definitely an iconic actor, but unfortunately, this time we really have run out of time. That's it for the big story on this Tuesday night.
we are One News, all sides, all the time.
Thanks for tuning in. Have a good night.